Welcome back. Eric Abelos here, and you are watching The Morning Boat. With the elections coming up, we wanted to take some time to talk with our very own Kim Bonner. Kim, how are you doing?
I'm great. How about you, Eric?
I am doing so well. I'm doing so well. Who are you and what do you do for our community?
I am the Routt County Clerk and Recorder, and I run an office, a really busy office. We take care of motor vehicle, marriage licenses, recording, liquor licenses, commissioner minutes, and elections.
Very relevant. So, what has been the history of mail in votes here in Routt County?
Well, after the 2008 debut of vote centers, which turned out to be kind of a disaster because people ended up waiting in line for hours and hours. Um, Permanent vote by mail requests just skyrocketed. Like here in Routt County, we had about a third of the registered voters request the next year to get mail ballots. And so subsequently, as a result, the legislature introduced a bill and passed it in 2013 that allowed for all mail ballot elections in Colorado. House Bill 13-1303, as passed, allowed for several things. First, same day voter registrations, so there's no cutoff. You can register on election day. And then it also reduced the residency requirements from 29 days to 22 days. Secondly, it allowed every qualified registered elector to receive a ballot automatically by mail. Third, it allowed people to vote or register to vote or make address changes online or through driver's license agencies. Fourth, it still gave the option for people to decide not to vote their mail ballot, but to go vote in person on election day or during early voting. And then finally, the bill established a minimum number of 24/7 drop box locations as well as remote drop locations in rural areas of the county.
Are you expecting a
So we've
lot
been running,
of oh, forgive me.
sorry.
Are you expecting a lot of mail-in votes this year with in lieu of COVID, or do you what's your plan for voting this year?
Well, in light of what happened at June primary, which was all also during COVID, we ended up with a lot more in-person voting than we had anticipated because of COVID. And it might have been because we were outside in the courthouse parking lot. So people were seeing us from Lincoln Avenue and just dropping by. But I really feel like we'll probably still have the same number of people that vote in person as we did 4 years ago during the presidential election. And that was about 1,000 over the course of the 2 weeks in election day.
Perfect. Is there anything that the public needs to be aware of for this election day?
Well, yes. So we're going to go outside the normal place of location for election day and the day before. So 2 weeks before the election, we're going to have early voting in the courthouse annex like we always have. And we decided we could probably do that because looking at the numbers from 2016, we never really had too many days over 70 voters. And so we can accommodate that over a 9-hour period with social distancing and without too much conflict. There's also still a number of employees that work in the annex building that are still working from home, so there won't be a lot of that type of contact either. But on the Monday and Tuesday of election week, we typically see 200 to 500 voters, and that's quite a few. It's definitely too many for the annex because they'd be in the parking lot whining all over. So we've identified Steamboat Christian Center, which is east of town on 40, as the location for that Monday and Tuesday. Monday will be normal office hours, and then Tuesday will be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We purchased a couple large feather flags that say vote here. We're going to use those to flag the entrance because it can be kind of difficult to find. And then we're also going to put signage at the bus stop and along the sidewalk that takes the path to the Christian Center.
And now, Kim, I know that there's some concerns have been raised about the security of the mail-in ballots. And what is your opinion on mail-in ballots? Do you find it to be just as safe as going to the polls and voting in person?
I definitely think it's as safe as voting in person, if not safer, because a number of reasons. We've been doing this now for 8 years in Colorado, and all 64 county clerks are in the same system. So we all access the same database. We know if there's duplicate voters out there, we merge them so that there's no opportunity for somebody to vote twice. That's the first thing. And then secondly, I think I mentioned this before, every part of the process is under camera. And I mean, we've gone to the extent with the opening board, we have 4 people opening the ballot to protect voter privacy so that they can't see the envelope and then look at how the voter voted. On top of that, they're only allowed to have green pens in that room, and their table is facing the camera so you can see everything that's done. We have to always account for, like, we scan in the ballots as soon as we get them so that we can indicate in the statewide voter registration system that ballots have been received. And then that way, if somebody were to go to another county and register to vote, they wouldn't be able to because they've got an active ballot that's already been received in our county. And then as far as after the election, after all the reconciliation, how many ballots did we receive through the statewide system? How many ballots did we accept? How many ballots did we scan? And to make sure that there's not more ballots cast than there are voters, et cetera. We go through a statewide risk limiting audit where every county is dependent on each other. And then some of the other general topics I'd like to remind people of is if you're planning on coming into the polling place and you want to vote in person on a machine, you have to show a valid ID. The list of acceptable IDs is really long, and we include that in the ballot packet that we mail out on October 9th. It includes things like driver's license, ID card, Colorado ID card, passports, utility bills with your residence address, etc. Quite a few things, even a pilot's license. So that's really important to bring that because otherwise you'll be voting a provisional ballot. Now,
So,
as far as, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Uh,
Bring your ID and bring your mask as well. Were you turning voters away if they're not wearing a mask?
Definitely. And in
Okay.
fact, part of that is we're seeing a lot of masks that have political candidates or advertisements on it. So Colorado law doesn't allow for electioneering within 100 feet of the polling place because they don't want voters to be influenced. So even when people come into motor vehicle, because this is within 100 feet of our office and early voting, we have to ask people to turn their shirts inside out, take their caps off, give them a mask to replace their political mask. So yeah, that's a key thing.
I'm not envious of you on that one. I'm sure that's gonna not be fun for you.
No,
I
it's not much
apologize.
fun.
My goodness. So, what? How do I confirm that I'm already registered to vote? Is there a way to do that now?
It's really easy, yes. So there's a website called, and it's under www.govotecolorado.com. What you have to do is put your driver's license number in and your residential zip code. So like 80487 versus 80477. And that's one way to look up your record. If people have difficulties finding it on that website, then they usually just call us and we'll verify it for them. And it might be that our voter registration record doesn't have their driver's license number in there. Sometimes that's the glitch, but we can usually always find it on the site and help navigate through it. Our phone number is 870-5558. So we encourage people to call us, and obviously doing it sooner rather than later is helpful on both ends.
And so, what are the key dates involved with this year's election? Like, when is the last day to confirm that you're registered to vote? When does early voting start? When does mail-in start? What are the key dates to this?
Okay, so the ballots are going out the 9th, and because of the holiday on Monday, I'm pretty sure people probably won't get them till Tuesday or Wednesday of the next week. They can vote and return those at any time. So we have a 24/7 drop box in the alley behind the courthouse, and we just put a second one up at the detention center west of town. So it's the old sheriff's office building located between the court building and the new Clough building, combined law enforcement building. And it's going to be a drive through where you can just, drive through and drop off your ballot. And we've also made some changes to the alley arrangement behind the courthouse. It's one way. So if you come in on 6th Avenue, then you have the ballot box on the left-hand side. And we are required by law to have those drop boxes under camera. So they're always lit. They're under camera 24/7. So if anybody tries to mutilate it or do any type of vandalism, they'll be caught.
Good.
So other key dates, early voting starts the 19th, 6 days. So on Saturday, it's 10 to 2. So we'll have two full weeks of early voting and then the Monday and Tuesday as well. You can turn in your ballot anytime and you can actually register to vote, change your address, or check on your voter registration up to and including election day. So there's, yeah, a lot of freedom to wait till the last minute, but we hope people don't.
Perfect. And are we expecting to see the results of the election on the election night this year?
That all depends on how people procrastinate. So history in Wrap County is that usually half of the ballots that we receive on Monday and Tuesday of election week. So we've really geared up with election judges this year, both for signature verification and the opening board as well, because we're using the commissioner's hearing room and a number of the other hearing rooms that are usually occupied. We place cameras in all the rooms that we're going to be using because that has to be filmed too, that process. And we're going to double up on all the boards. So we're going to try and keep up as much as we can so that we can get the results out on election night.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And in wrapping things up, is there anything else that we need to be aware of as Route County voters?
Well, yeah, I guess I didn't really realize that people didn't understand this, but as far as the signature verification process, so if you get a mail ballot and you vote your mail ballot, you don't have to supply an ID unless you haven't done it previously. So instead, it goes through signature verification process. And if the partisan team of election judges both agree that there's a signature discrepancy, or maybe you forgot to sign your mail ballot envelope, then they reject the signature. We send a letter out to the voters saying your signature's been rejected. You need to fill out this form and supply a copy of your ID and confirm whether or not you did vote your ballot. Because sometimes family members vote their ballot and forge their signatures, believe it or not. So this year, in addition to the standard way of curing your signature, you can also go online to text to cure and actually text to cure your signature. So this is something that the Secretary of State kind of came up with for the younger people who their signatures are developing. So, and we only have a few signatures on file. So it's just an easier way of them curing. And then in addition to that, you have till 8 days after the election to cure your signature. So you have notice and you have time to cure it.
Perfect. Kim, thank you so much. This was a lot of information and a lot of really, really good information. Thank you so much for joining me this morning.
You are welcome. Thank you, Eric.
Guys, go out and vote this year. But before then, pour yourself another cup of coffee. We've got more show coming at you right after this.